Look at this giant stack right here. Well, today, for the fun of it, I decided to show you guys my collection that I got from Japan, because I went to Japan last week, and I basically just bought a bunch of games, and let's just say I definitely got a good haul, just based on how tall the stack is right here. And for today, I just want to show you guys what exactly I got from Japan, whether or not it was Dragon Quest games, Trails games, or just any other games in general. And I think this is going to be a fun video right here, and let's just dive right in. So when I first got to Japan, the first thing that was in my mind was to get Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, a physical copy from Japan, because obviously this channel is primarily a Dragon Quest channel. And yeah, of course, I was going to go on and pick up Dragon Quest III. That's kind of like a no-brainer right there. And you might notice already I immediately have it with the reversible cover. And the main cover is right here, but I went with the reversible cover because it looks cool. And how you even have the Famicom art in the back. And this one specifically I bought at Don Quixote, which I guess in Japan it's kind of like their Walmart, where it basically has everything that you need. I'm not entirely sure on that. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. How you guys view Don Quixote, if you've been to Japan before, or you're a resident in Japan. So yeah, I bought this one at Don Quixote, and then later in the day, me and my friends, we were exploring Osaka, and when we were heading back, we saw some game stores, and in one of the game stores I went on and bought this right here, Dragon Quest Monsters 2. This is the Kobe version of the game. Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure, or Zero no Kiseki and Ao no Kiseki. Because that's the other thing I wanted to buy in Japan was Trails games. Because in terms of my Trails collection, the only thing I really have physically is Cold Steel 3 and Cold Steel 4. I don't own any other games from the Trails series other than those two. And going to Japan was a good opportunity to go out and expand my Trails collection, and here we are right here where I have both Zero and Azure. And there's still more to go through right here, because shortly after we went to another used game store and they happened to have Sky 1 on PS3 and Cold Steel 1 on PS3. And this one was actually pretty damn cheap right here. Cold Steel 1 on PS3, 500 yen, which is pretty crazy to think about, that this costs so little. In American currency, that's about like $2. That's kind of insane right there, in my opinion. So yeah, this was definitely a no-brainer right here, and this right here was a little bit more expensive, about like 1,500 yen, but still pretty affordable nonetheless, if you compare it to how much Trails games sell here in North America. I think I got a good deal. But yeah, those were the games I bought in Osaka, because the next day we went over to Kyoto, and the first thing we went to was the Nintendo headquarters. Well, first we went to a shrine, then we went to Nintendo headquarters, and then we went to the Nintendo store in Kyoto, and I went on and bought these games right here in the Nintendo store. Famicom Detective Club, Emil the Smiling Man, Mario and Luigi Brothership, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong. They had them all on sale in the Nintendo store, so I went on and bought them. And even got some gacha stuff there as well, like this little guy right here, which is based on the Famicom controller, and this guy right here, which is based on the N64 controller, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I bought all of these at the Nintendo store, but a floor down under is also another like used store where they sell used stuff, whether it's used CDs, used cards, used Blu-rays, and even used games right here. And the ones I bought right here is Sonic Adventure and the Yakuza Walking Dead game. It's kind of what I described it as. And it's from a store called Mandrake. Pretty popular, I believe, in Japan. And some of those Mandrakes sell used games, some of them don't. Primarily, they're kind of like a boutique store in a sense that sells used collectibles. And this one in particular happened to sell used games, and I went bought these two guys right here, which is pretty cool. Moving on, the next day we went to another store in Kyoto. I think it's called Ion or Ion. I'm not exactly familiar with the name at this moment in time, but this is where I went on and bought Kai no Kiseki and Cold Steel 2. And Cold Steel 2 was a used game, of course, and Kai no Kiseki was a brand new game that they had on sale, which I believe was still the same retail price. And there's this code right here that I don't want to show, but still nonetheless pretty cool, pretty cool. And then the next day, before we head off to Tokyo, I went to this place called Bookon, which is pretty popular, pretty similar concept to Mandarake, and where they sell a bunch of used stuff, and some of them do happen to sell used games. And this is where I bought Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 on Nintendo Switch, a version of the game that just refuses to leave Japan, and Yakuza 2 on PS2. They also had Yakuza 1, but the problem I had was the copies they had there was like the greatest hits version, and it has a terrible yellow border that I didn't want. So I just opted to not buy that version. So I just bought Yakuza 2 instead because, hey, at least there's no ugly ass border here. And of course, in terms of this game right here, even though they sold it at full price, which is like about 74,000 yen, I still bought it regardless because it's Dragon Quest Heroes when it comes down to it. And this is the one version that refuses to leave Japan for whatever reason. And even though we keep on seeing these games out there or listings about Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 coming to the West, it just never happens, which is strange as hell. And then the next day in Tokyo, we went to Akihabara, and a couple of games we got there was Kuro no Kiseki and Kuro no Kiseki 2, or Daybreak 1 and 2. And these ones right here were relatively affordable when I went to the store. They even had some Dragon Quest plushes, which, let me quickly grab this one right here, which is what I bought at that store in Akihabara, which is pretty cool. And even got some gachas like this little Zoma guy right here. And there's a slime thing around somewhere, but I can't seem to find it at the moment. But still, regardless, I went on and bought these guys there at Tokyo. Pretty cool. And there were some other used game stores, and this is where I got Trails in the Sky FC Evolution for PS Vita and Dragon Quest Monsters 1 and 2 on PlayStation 1. And I saw this one right there. I was like, yeah, I have to go on and get this guy right here. This is the one version of Dragon Quest Monsters that barely anyone talks about. And if I ever want to make a video on this guy right here, I now have a copy right here to mess around with. And which leads us to our last game right here, which is Animal Crossing on N64. I just thought it was cool to go on and buy the N64 version because barely anyone really knows that Animal Crossing had its start on the N64 because this version was never localized to the West. Which, if my understanding was correct, this came around towards the end of the N64's life cycle, and obviously Nintendo has this policy to where if we have to localize it and we're already deep into the next generation, what's the point of localizing it? So this game right here came out, never got a localization, and here we are right now, that I now own the copy right here. And I just thought it was cool. But yeah, that was my whole collection right here. I might do another video showing off all the collectible stuff I have, because I even got this guy right here. I'll talk more about that probably in another video, and this is where the crystal slime went. But yeah, that's all I have for today's video. Like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.